The NFL trade deadline has come and gone. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? And how do the Eagles stack up against the rest of the NFC and the NFL? We're going to get into it. Sixers drop a heartbreaker to the Bulls last night. More a frustrating loss to the Bulls last night. We'll get into that. And Paul Knepper, author of Moses Malone, Prophet of Basketball Prophet, joins us in an hour, trending in the AM. We are live. 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on the STT Sports Network. We are live. YouTube, Twitter, you know the drill. Wherever you're watching, hit that like button. Share this out on any platform and every platform you've got. Please subscribe to the STT Sports Network, starting the day at 822 subscribers. It's also the only place you can vote on the poll question of the day. So all those Twitter watchers, head over to YouTube to vote. Who had the best NFL trade deadline? Your options are the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Jets, and other. There's more than 4 options, so we'll go with other. Make sure you vote on that. I feel the Eagles had the best deadline, but we are going to break down all the deals that went down yesterday. But please, first, like, subscribe, share, start bringing in your comments. Joining us at 9 a.m., Paul Knepper. He is going to be discussing his book he just released on Moses Malone, called Moses Malone, The Life of a Basketball Prophet. We're going to talk to him about Moses Malone's life and career, the NBA as a whole as it compares to back then, and some other fun things. So make sure you stay tuned. 9 a.m. He'll be joining us for about 20 minutes. Don't want to miss that, guy. So stay tuned. But let's get right to the comments, and then I will get right into some of these trade deadline deals and everything that happened. Good morning, Duck. How you doing? Yes, we will make our run and bring the Lombardi home. I hope so. If it isn't the Eagles, the Colts, because they got sauce. That was a shocking and big and home run move by the Indianapolis Colts to go out and get Sauce Gardner and give up 2 first-round picks. It seems like Blanche wants to fight somebody today. Not sure who she's going to fight, but she's going to fight somebody. Josh Giddey stuck it right in our eye last night. Josh Giddey was a problem for the Sixers last night. Not sure what the Sixers could have done to slow that boy down. But 29, 15, and 12 for him last night. That was something. Cowboys got a top 5 defensive tackle. Of course, those D-bags had the best trade deadline. I don't know if they necessarily had the best trade deadline for this year. They're 3-5-1. They gave up a first and a second round pick. I don't know. It's not, Quinyon Williams is not going to make the Cowboys better this year. Now, next year and over the big picture, if Jerry Jones figures things out, sure. It was a good trade for the Cowboys. I just think it was a weird timed trade after losing again on Monday Night Football. And good morning to you, by the way, as well. Good morning, Robert. How you doing today? Good morning, Adam. Flyers win. I got a lot of Flyers comments coming in. Just saw the Reese Hoskins decline his options. We should not bring him back. No, we do not need Reese Hoskins back in here. Flyers flew right under the radar last night, winning in the hated hat. Yeah, I kind of didn't even watch the Flyers last night. I was on that Sixers game all night last night. That Flyers win was incredible. Tocchet going to win the Jack Adams Award. Pump the brakes. Patience, Anthony. We have to wait a whole hour for Knepper. Yep, sorry. Can only do what we got to do. Big Flyers win. What's up, Big Al? Not for this year, I agree, but Williams is a problem. Absolutely agree. That was the thing with Williams. I just don't know. I don't know why you make that kind of a deal right now and give up one of those first-round picks when you're not a playoff team. But it does make their defense better. We do face them in a couple of weeks again, so I get it. Did K1 change his name? I know I haven't commented. Well, we got Blanche, we got Rose, we got Wilford Brimley. Got a lot of old actors. Ridley Scott regularly is commenting. Got a lot of weirdos commenting right now. Cowboys had the worst deadline. They are not making the playoffs, and they need cheap young players. This makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, Jerry Jones is trying to make a win now move. It's an actual move that makes them win down the line as well, Anthony. So, like, that's why I don't put them as winning the deadline. I also don't put them as losing the deadline either. I think some of these other teams, like the Bengals and the Browns, and even the Jets to an extent for not trading more players away. You know, if you're gonna be a loser, like a seller, then go all in on it, right? Williams has had one big season. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, isn't he? I mean, not that Pro Bowl is much. That is way too much to give up for a defensive tackle. The guy isn't Warren Sapp. It's a lot. It's an absolute lot. I voted Cowboys for best deadline. I don't know if I could do that. I think they're middle of the pack out of the teams that made moves. Diabetes, yes, exactly. The Giants didn't make any moves. That is absolutely. The Chiefs didn't make any moves. The Bills didn't make any moves. You know, the Patriots, a lot of playoff teams, the Lions, the Packers, did not make moves. It's weird where the moves. The Colts and the Eagles were the only two playoff teams right now that went out and swung for the fences. I guess the Seahawks did as well. Because the Seahawks, if I was going to vote other, I'd vote for the Seahawks as a winner at the deadline, because going out and getting Jihaad to add to that passing attack to give Sam Darnold another weapon was a hell of a trade right there, only giving up a 4th and a 5th for him. Dallas got a great player. It's like hanging a chandelier in a haunted house. Makes no sense when you I agree. I agree with that. It's a desperation move to keep the Cowboys in the headlines, because we all know that's what Jerry Jones likes to do. Cowboys could have used those picks to move up to get a quarterback. I have no idea. Nobody knows what the Cowboys are doing. Jerry Jones, as I say, long live Jerry Jones, because he never knows what he's doing out there. Seahawks made a nice move. I love the Seahawks move. I think going and getting Rashid Shaheed was a great move. They already I had it up earlier, and I forgot to write it down. They got one of the top 5, top 6 passing offenses in football, and it just got better. All the teams below the Eagles, the Packers, the Lions, the Buccaneers, they all stayed quiet yesterday. The Seahawks went out and made a move. Are you happy with Howie not making any moves yesterday? Yeah, I mean, he already made a lot of moves. He's already made 9 trades since the start of the season. Would have I liked to have seen a guard, a safety, a tight end? Sure. But it's just not. It is what it is. He's not done making moves. He's going to continue to make moves on this team through the waiver wire. He will always do that. The Cowboys only made their future harder. True. The Patriots signed Trey Race's boy. Yeah, that was their big move. Yeah, exactly. Hanging a chandelier in a haunted house. I like that. Yeah, do you? Joe didn't need to help out Oubre on that last defensive possession. Joel Embiid played really well last night until that final 3-minute stretch last night. Putting him back in for those final 3-4 minutes was a big mistake by Nick Nurse. Adam, Howie made a move, huge move. Jalen Phillips is going. Well, we were talking on yesterday's show, Anthony, about would he make any more moves, small or big, and that's why he's asking that. Did I want them to make more? I did want more moves. I'm like Howie Roseman, Anthony. I'm never satisfied. I always want to get more and get better. Howie will not make a blockbuster trade at the deadline. I mean, Jalen Phillips is not a blockbuster trade, but out of a very important position where we heard a lot of big names on the move potentially, Jalen Phillips was the biggest edge rusher moved, and the Eagles got him. Jermaine Johnson didn't go. Hendrickson, Max Crosby, none of those guys moved. JJ is just being reactionary. He's trying to get everyone to stop talking about Micah Parsons, old guy, passive-aggressive behavior. Yeah, I mean, he just wants to be in the headlines. Plain and simple. Guys, make sure you're hitting that like button. If you haven't subscribed, share it out. Vote on the poll question. Right now, early voting, the Eagles are winning this poll on who won the deadline. Cowboys, Jets, no one voted other yet at this point. We got to get into the Jets here and what they did in a second. We have a lot of flexibility in our secondary and our D-line now. Absolutely agree with you, Paul. Good morning to you, Paul. Absolutely. Nolan Smith's practice window was opened yesterday. Brandon Graham is back. We are now with Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Jalen Phillips. Who'd I miss? Josh Uche. In the matter of like 2 weeks, The depth at the edge position has just flipped the switch. I just want more content for shorts. I just want content, period. I feel like Jerry Jones wanted to solely stop Saquon with this move. He's trying to do a soft rebuild. Well, I don't know. I don't know, Peanut. I think Jerry Jones doesn't know what he's doing, and that's great for the Eagles and the Commanders and the Giants. But also, I think he knows to an extent when he screws up. So he is reactionary and overreacts to, oops, I screwed up. I better go get a player, or we're going to fall out of the limelight of the fans. Phillips will shore up a D-line that has been underperforming. Absolutely agree. It didn't help the Sixers missed their last 11 shots. The Sixers were terrible down the stretch last night, shooting-wise. I think I read that only a few teams have ever put up 75 points in the first half and then lose a game and put up that little in the second half. It was really, really bad job. Dak is going to be 33 this year. Is he really that old already? Damn. Makes me feel old. The Cowboys are 3-5-1, just got blown out at home by the Cards' backup quarterback. Actually, he's the starting quarterback now. The Cowboys should be sellers and stock up on picks. Yeah, I mean, Anthony, that's what a sane person would say. We know that Jerry Jones is not a sane person. Quinyon Williams would be sad to be traded away from the Jets. Look, the Jets picked up 3 more first-round picks. They traded Sauce Gardner for 2. They traded Quinyon Williams for 1. They've got 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years, plus 3 second-round picks. They've got 8 picks in the first 2 rounds of the next 2 drafts. Problem is, the Jets don't have, unless they're getting Howie Roseman, what are they going to do with all those picks? And the thing is, you trade and pick up 5 first-round picks, or all these first-round picks. Why didn't they trade Breece Hall? Why didn't they trade Garrett Wilson? Why didn't they trade Jermaine Johnson? If you're going to strip it down, you might as well completely strip it down. And the people voting Jets on the poll question that they won the deadline, I don't like that vote. Because they only semi-stripped it down, the Jets. They gave away 2 assets. If you're going all in on a trade or on a rebuild, go all in. Don't pussyfoot around it. Get the job done. I mean, they could have picked up more picks and more assets. A.J. Brown is still here, yes. Now, I will say he was asked if he was ever on the table. Howie Roseman was asked this yesterday. Was he ever on the table to be traded? He did not say no. He said, well, when you have an elite player that wears a C, you don't want to get rid of him. He did not say no. I just want to say that. Phil, are you good with our defensive tackle depth? No, I wanted a defensive tackle yesterday. Didn't need to be a big one. I didn't need them to go and trade for Quinyon Williams. But I wanted another guy. I did. I've talked about it briefly a few times. Jacorian Bennett better work out. And I don't know how Thomas Booker is performing this year with the Raiders, but we gave up Thomas Booker, a viable part of our defensive tackle rotation, for a guy that we haven't used yet this year. So it is what it is, though. What's good, AK? How you doing this morning? 48 minutes? Well, it's 46 minutes. So I'm 2 minutes behind on the comments. That Jets defense was built for Salah. So why didn't they just trade everybody, right? Dallas is not a win-now team, and they made a win-now move. I guess they counted on Monday night as a win, and they lost. Yeah. I mean, maybe they forgot to tell Jerry Jones that they lost, right? Maybe Jerry Jones too busy looking into the camera with Stephen A. Smith to realize the Cowboys lost. I think at the deadline, if I had a power rank, and guys, we got 24 people watching, only 12 likes. Hit that like button, please. I'd appreciate it. Special guest coming up in 46 minutes here. If I had a power rank, in my opinion, the winners at the deadline, 1, it would be the Eagles. 2, it would be the Colts. 3, it would be the Seahawks. 4, it'd be the Jets. 5 would be the Cowboys. And that's about pretty much it. I mean, I guess the Jags got Jacoby Myers. Cool, I guess. You know, I don't know if that really helps them much. It just fills in a hole that they have on their team. Good morning, Elephant in the room. How you doing? At least Jerry Jones looks at the camera. That was a little layup for you there, K1, right? I don't care that you don't like my Jets pick. You do realize that other teams have to be willing to trade. Who is your say they didn't try to trade everyone? What? Wait, what are you saying? Are you coming at me? Look, I get it. It takes two to tango, right? And they may have tried to trade. Steve, are you a secret like Jets fan and I didn't know this? I love the fact that they were able to get the Sauce Gardner for 2 firsts. It's a fantastic trade. Gives the Jets 2 first-round picks. That's a win for them. Gives the Colts, the Colts, I was looking, their pass defense was like 7th or 6th worst in the NFL. Their defense is great, except for pass defense. Top 10 in points given up, top 10 in rushing yards allowed, but terrible against the pass. It's a win-win move on both sides, for sure. So I love the trade. Of course, he's head of the media empire, not a sports team. It's truth. That's truth. I'm guessing Jerry didn't see Marvin Harrison Jr. use Duran Bland's kid. Yeah, dude. That play was pretty sad. Jets are the only ones having a fire sale. I'm shocked, and I'm surprised that no one else did. Yes, Harrison Bader opted out, so he'll be gone. Most likely he'll be gone. Maybe he tries to sign a longer-term deal with the Phillies. Just because they opt out doesn't mean they don't want to stay or the team doesn't want to keep him. I knew he would opt out. It was very obvious. Even Miami is fire sale it. I can't believe Miami didn't trade somebody away or bring somebody in. Like that. Well, they did trade in Jalen Phillips, but they didn't make any other moves yesterday. My biggest thing with the Jets is, if I want to be honest with the Jets, is their front office. I mean, their front office has been bad over the last decade. They've got all these assets now. Will they be able to utilize them? That would be my unbiased take. Why are you pissed? Because the Bills did nothing. A lot of playoff teams did nothing yesterday. And it's kind of weird. Eagles had a good trade deadline, but the fact that they get that many picks back in NFL terms gives them the best deadline. I'm not going to just pick the Eagles because I'm a fan. Colts would be second. Look, I love that Colts-Jets trade, Steve. I love teams that see a window and go all in. All right, we've got one big weakness, our pass defense. Let's go get the best secondary guy on the market that could be traded for. Cool. Jets aren't going anywhere. They just signed him to a $120 million deal, but whatever. Get 2 firsts, right? They're going to be 3 years away, 4 years away from competing the Jets. So there you go. I love the move. Bader is going to re-sign. No, he's not going to or not going to. He opted out of his club option, his player option yesterday. So he's a free agent. Doesn't mean he's not going to re-sign. It just means he's a free agent now. Why what? Why isn't he, or why did he, or why what? Looking at the moves Dallas just made as a next season move rather than in this one. Use a few picks to fill a few holes. Look, I get it. I'm just confused why Dallas would make that big of a move now. You don't make in-season trades for next year when you're a non-playoff team like that. I don't know. I think on paper, you take what the team's situations are, the Cowboys situation out of it, okay? It's a good trade on paper. A first and a second, a little steep, but he's a great defensive tackle. The Jets get more capital. But the Cowboys aren't in a position. And they might be in a worse position next year, depending on how this season plays out. Where your opinions matter. Phil, I hate your vote. Oh, I see. It's where your opinions mattering does not mean I have to like your opinions, Al. I can hate your opinions. I think you guys misunderstand the whole where your opinions matter. Where your opinions matter is all that means is that I'm going to listen to your opinions. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with them. The Chiefs and the Panthers have the same record. They do. And neither team made a move yesterday. I'm shocked that so many 4, 5, 6 win teams did not make moves yesterday. Why would we re-sign him? He only opted out to get multiple years, and that's too much of a risk. I mean, I get why he opted out. I mean, he had a 1-year, $10 million contract. Who wouldn't? Coming off his best and only really good year, Bader was obviously going to opt out and try to get a 3-year contract somewhere. I've always projected about 3 years $40 million, 3 years, $45 million. I see you're saying here 3 years, $33 million. I would give him 3 years, 33. I think there's going to be a free agent team, a middle of the pack type team that might offer him 40 or more. And that's about where I'm off on the Harrison Bader train right there. I would love to keep him for like a 2-year, $18 million deal, but I think that is very unrealistic to expect to happen. Dallas gave most away what they got from the Parsons trade for a lesser player. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too, right? You know, what's Jerry Jones doing? You're worried about your defensive line, but you just traded away your best player. Now you're bringing another guy in. That's the thing. The thing why I can't give the Cowboys any credit for that trade is because the Cowboys don't have any plan. Jerry Jones is spinning a roulette wheel, and wherever the ball lands, that's what he does that day. As I always say, long live Jerry Jones, because he's literally clueless on, like Howie Roseman has a plan for right now, for next week, for next year, for the next decade written down, right? Jerry Jones doesn't know what he's doing 1 hour from now, right? You know, Jerry Jones is probably the most senile, confused executive in sports, period, right now. This is a Mitchie Poo type question. Who would you rather? Who would you rather run in your organization right now, Daryl Morey or Jerry Jones? Y'all know my thoughts on Daryl Morey. I would take Daryl Morey 10 times over Jerry Jones. That's crazy to say. But that's that. But I still think after this deadline, after everything that went down and didn't go down, the Eagles are still the team to beat in the NFC and the NFL. Jalen Phillips, Jerry Alexander, Michael Carter, who Howie Roseman said can also play safety. Very interesting there. They are the best roster, right? Dallas traded Micah and Mozzie Smith for Quinton Williams and Kenny Clark. Make it make sense. Because you can't make it make sense. That's the problem. Morey, because professionalism, I don't know, man. I don't even believe I said that. You think Jerry Jones' son is any better? From what I've heard, he's not. Maybe he will be at some point, but I don't know. See, Jerry Jones is lucky he's not my dad, because I'd be going to the NFL and I'd be putting in the paperwork saying that my dad is mentally unfit. Yeah, I'd be like, you see it in the movies all the time where, you know, the cabinet of the president runs a coup and takes over because the president isn't, you know, mentally unfit. So they get him, you know, I don't want to get into politics anyway. Totally could see that happening. They just might put him in a padded room at some point. Morey is a beast at drafting guards. You know, I give credit where credit is due. Daryl Morey has hit home runs with guards in the draft the last couple years. There's no doubt about that one bit at all. Daryl Morey has done a fantastic job, you know, at drafting. I mean, VJ Edgecombe, man, I'm watching that game last night. And he didn't have another 30 or 40-point game or anything. But just the little things that VJ Edgecombe can do as a rookie in his 8th game, playing 35, 40 minutes a game. It's just interesting, man. It's just crazy to see. Williams' move was too quietly for making up for the Parsons trade. And that's a reactionary trade. You never see Howie making reactionary moves. Howie will make let's fix it kind of moves, because I think that's what a Phillips move is. I think that's what a Alexander and Carter move are, trying to fix mistakes. Let's just think about this. The Cowboys gave up a first and a second for a player. The Colts gave up 2 firsts for a player. We got 4th and 5th round picks getting traded and all. The Eagles traded a 3rd round pick basically and a bunch of pick swaps and picked up 3 players. One that'll definitely instantly contribute, one that'll probably contribute at some point, and one that's a we'll see. I still got to think that the Eagles had the best deadline of all the teams that made moves. Now, while Sauce Gardner was a big name traded, right? Really no other big names were traded at the deadline. So maybe some of these teams that stayed quiet, the Buccaneers, the Rams stayed quiet, the Bills, the Ravens, all these other teams, the Chiefs, all these teams that stayed quiet at the deadline. Did they stay quiet because the asking price was too much? Did they stay quiet because the players that they wanted weren't available? Did they stay quiet just because they think they're good enough in a wide open league to not need to waste future assets? I think that's another aspect of it. Do you need to, if the NFL is so open right now, do you really need to go trade a first-round pick for somebody to set yourself apart? You can't make this up. We traded Parsons 3 weeks later. Hey, Jerry, what do you need? Pass rusher. Idiot. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Morey isn't responsible for the draft picks. It's the assistant GM who makes the draft pick decisions. Morey just gets the A in the group project. Gotcha. He's the guy that does none of the work, but accepts the A. I had one of those groups in college at Widener. I definitely had one of those groups. But I wanted that A, so I still did all the work. I tried to get my partner switched, and I wasn't allowed to. Accountable here. I think the Eagles had a controlled and targeted response because we aren't that far off. Yeah. Like the Eagles know they legitimately have the pieces to get to the Super Bowl, right? These other teams, they think they do. They don't know. They know that a lot of teams are on about the same level. League is wide open, feels like the answer. I like that. I think it's a weird situation the league is in. I don't know if I remember, Steve, a year recently where this many teams legitimately have, I don't want to say a chance to get to the Super Bowl, but be a contender in their conference, right? Like right now, if you look at the NFC, right? You got the Eagles, obviously. The Cowboys think they are. You got the Packers, Lions, the Vikings, Bears are all still in it. The Falcons, Panthers, Bucks, all still in it. The Rams, the Niners, the Seahawks. You got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 or 12 teams in the NFC that still got a chance. The Eagles are clearly better, but you got all these teams that have a chance. Guys, there's 27 people watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, share. Our special guest will be joining us in about a half hour. Do not miss it. Stay tuned. Great conversation I'm open for here in about 30 minutes. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe Jerry Jones sold a soul? A soul, not his soul? Does he have multiple souls to sell? His soul would be the correct question, not a soul. Unless he sold someone else's soul. I don't know. Colts made a decision to add an expensive win now attempt. Look, I love it. Sometimes those kind of moves work out. Sometimes they don't, right? You can't fault them for swinging for the fences. They got an opportunity. Let's go for it. I was looking at where they rank. They're top 10 in rush defense, top 10 in overall defense, top 10 in points given up defense, but they're bottom 5 or 6 in pass defense. So you went out and got the best cornerback on the market. Now, it's expensive. He just signed a 4-year, $120 million extension, but it is what it is. I love the Jets. Hey, we're in rebuild mode. We got a chance to get rid of a guy, not have to pay him, and get 2 first-round picks? Sure, why not? He'll be past his prime by the time we're good again. I will say I feel bad for Aaron Glenn, their new coach. He's doing a terrible job coaching them this year, and they're stripping that team down around him. Aaron Glenn's being set up to fail and be the fall guy with the Jets there for sure. I think cost versus return is a big reason. I think some of these guys, some of the big names that were available, you see Sauce Gardner get 2 first-round picks. Max Crosby, you want or Trey Hendrickson or Myles Garrett, you want a big haul, right? You're not getting rid of those kind of elite players unless somebody blows you away with an offer. The Blake Bortles in the AFC Championship year. What about it? Are you comparing to what this year? Oh, you're saying the last year that there was this much parity basically in a league. Yeah, absolutely. That was Blake Bortles with the Jags. What year was that? That was a while ago. But I get that reference. I think it's fair. It's called parity. NFL has spent decades trying to get it. I remember hearing that word even in the 80s. Yeah. Have you seen JJ's son? Does he look like he has a soul? Maybe that's the thing. JJ does have soul buying money. So he doesn't sell his own soul. He buys other people's souls to sell them. Stupid talking text again. I'm done for the rest of the day. Have a good one. Love you, AK. The way I see it, 20 games from now, no one will care about last night's Sixers game. Putting in a rusty McCain, took some starch. Yeah, look, McCain definitely looked rusty last night. He didn't even look like, even when he was moving around the court, like he knew where he needed to be on the court. So whatever. It is what it is. I think my biggest thing is Joel Embiid late in games. I think Joel Embiid at times things, looked really good last night. But then at the end of the game, it just slowed everything. Is ESPN back? Not to my knowledge. I haven't checked this morning, but I would assume I would have seen it online if it was back. But at this point, it is not back. The Jets are killing another head coach. He's a rental and didn't even know it. He didn't know it. And that's why I don't get why some of these assistant coaches and coordinators don't be like, yo, I don't want that job. I know there's only 32. But do you really want your first job? Look at him. Look at Kellen Moore with the Saints. Do you really want your first job to be there? God. Could you imagine? I couldn't. It's crazy how that's going on out there. And, yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, guys, 31 minutes in this show. Like, subscribe, share, vote in the poll. Still no votes for other. The Jets at 19%, the Cowboys at 8%, Eagles at 73% as the best trade deadline in the NFL. We talked about them a little bit yesterday. And I want to, again, I mentioned at the start of the show, I mentioned it again. The Seahawks making a trade for a wide receiver yesterday. Well, they already have a great passing attack. I think the Seahawks are being extremely slept on in the NFL right now. I know we have discussed them, but I don't think enough teams are discussing and enough talking heads are discussing. I mean, they're 6-2 just like the Eagles. I mean, they got a plus 81 point differential, which is almost 60 points more than the Eagles. They're 4-0 on the road. So they're showing that they can win on the road. Seattle and Sam Darnold are putting together quite a season. And I'm really curious to see how it plays out for them. Both teams play solid defense last night, including Joe. He got up there for a nice block. Yeah, I mean, I still think there's some work to do on defense. There's still some lack of communication, backdoor, cuts that get missed, help for Joel when he goes for the block on one guy. There are still some things that need to be worked out. But they looked better last night. Quinny Grimes didn't have his best game last night, okay? Saints are crap and they aren't in full sale mode. Miami is burning it down and they aren't in fire sale mode. The Jets are doing Jet things. Yeah. Seattle's a good team. I have to see Sam Darnold in the playoffs. And that's the thing with Seattle. Seattle's going to win a lot of football games the rest of this year. I don't know their schedule. I don't think they played the Rams yet, period. Seattle's got a good football team. They're going to win 11 games, maybe 12, maybe more. They're in a tough division, fighting for that division with the Rams, fighting for that division with the 49ers. It's going to be a dogfight. You might see 2 wild cards come out of that conference or that league. But Sam Darnold in the playoffs is always going to be a question. I watched the Sixers in the first time in years. A little disappointed in that last quarter. Last quarter was brutal. Blowing that lead like they did last night was brutal. What's up, Bruce? How you doing this morning? What's up, Mr. Joel needs new scenery. He's too comfortable. Send him to Miami. Maybe. You can't trade him at this point. He's untradeable at this point. But there is glimpses of good in Joel Embiid that I've seen this year. So maybe as the season goes on, continues to do that, maybe you can eventually trade him. Do you feel we should have tried to get Sauce Gardner? Nah. No offense. Sauce Gardner is an amazing player. He's extremely expensive. He's on a 4-year, $120 million extension. He costs 2 first-round picks. You've already got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper Dejean. You can't have that kind of money spent at cornerback when you've got two other elite corners. It is what it is. I would have liked to have seen other positions addressed, but yeah, I'm not giving up that cost for our team for Sauce Gardner. Glimpses of good. Good is all you can expect, K1. That's the problem. You can't expect better than good. Joel Embiid is not an elite player anymore. And we will ask Paul, our guest coming up, about Joel Embiid when he's here, because he's obviously written a book that we're going to talk about Moses Malone, an all-time great center. His other book was on the Knicks of the 90s, and he spent a lot of time studying Patrick Ewing. So he knows a lot about centers in basketball and the evolution of that game. So we'll talk to him about Joel Embiid when he comes on the show. Amazing Known is talking about missing Don Barlow. He was huge in the first couple games. Huge. And I was very hyped for him, and he's been out since then, and it has been a miss. It has been. I need to see a glimpse of Embiid playing a true center, if not, get him out. There's no getting him out. Getting him out, just trading him away, is not as easy as people think. That would be the most expensive sauce you ever put on your bird. I love that. I love it. I love it. That's high quality right there. Phil, I didn't think about that as much as it is too much. It's not too much in the Colts situation. You got to look at each team's situation. The Colts' biggest weakness is their pass defense. They're 7-2. They got a chance to make a deep playoff run. All right, that's fair for them. But the Eagles already have a great secondary. They have a weakness as their third guy out there, but they've already got two great secondary. You can't have three elite cornerbacks. You just can't do that. It just doesn't fit into the business of football. You're really excited. You don't even know who this guy is, and you're excited. Cool. Awesome. Be fun to talk something different for a change. You got 23 minutes now. Vote on the poll. Like, share, subscribe, guys. So what's next? So other things that went on yesterday, obviously, Nolan Smith's practice window was open. Patrick Johnson was released. They cut Terrence Marshall from the practice squad, assuming to get Patrick Johnson back on the practice squad. Danny Gray, wide receiver, was added to the practice squad. Sua Opeta was cut from the practice squad. Things are starting to run. They still have to make one more move today, the Eagles, if they're going to activate Jacorian Bennett. Okay? So the roster move is rounding into shape. But we know Howie Roseman's not done. Howie Roseman clearly said yesterday, I'm going to be paying attention. If there's a guy cut that can help or improve our team, I will make it. Who did I vote for? That is my personal vote. But I did vote. Well, I voted by mail-in, so I didn't vote yesterday. I voted like 2 weeks ago. Despite all of last night, Joe still set the perfect screen, and Grimes had the look. That's the NBA on the road. Yeah, look, that's last night's last-second shot by Joel or by Quinyon Grimes. It was a good look. He just missed. The previous game, what was that, on Sunday? They had a terrible inbound play drawn up for their final look, or not the last game that they lost. They had a really bad drawn up look. So they got better in that aspect. I don't know why you're not drawing up that play for Tyrese Maxey, why you're doing it for Quinyon Grimes, who was 0 for 1,000 from 3 last night. He was 0 for 4 from 3. Way too many 3. No, 4. Where is it? 0 for 5 from 3 for Quinyon Grimes. 6 3-point shots for Joel Embiid is a bit much too, but that's pretty much who he is now. What's up, Lil G? Good morning. I voted for my job. Yeah. Anyway, the Halloween game was the last loss. Terrible inbound play drawn up in that. Terrible. Looked like a lot of guys not knowing what they're doing. At least they got a good play called. They ran it. They got a clean open look. You miss it. I would much prefer Tyrese Maxey in that spot. Personally, taking that shot. But I'm not a Quinyon Grimes believer like Nooms is. I don't get you. Every day, you amaze me every day with the weird things that get you excited, K1. Every day. It is what it is. So is this roster now ready? Are the Eagles prepared? Are the Eagles the best team in the NFC at this point? Is their roster the most complete roster at this point? I think it's an interesting question. And on to the Sixers a little bit more. What do the Sixers? I know people will say that Joel Embiid needs to play like a true center. I don't think he ever will. Is the Joel Embiid we saw last night what we can expect? And as long as they don't put him out there in the final 3 minutes of a basketball game, is that good enough? I think Joel Embiid, what we saw last night, was fine. We can win with that. He actually was very comfortable on the offense and defensive end. And then those final 3 minutes, it tightened up. Is Joel Embiid just a guy where we have to play him 25, 28 minutes a game? And the final 3-4 minutes of the game, he's just got to be a bench guy and understand that's his role? We will know on Monday. Monday's such a big game for the start of the second half of the season. Sets the tone for the second half of the season. Is it wrong to show enthusiasm? No, it's not. Eagles are the best and most complete team in the NFC. I think they're the best and most complete team in the NFL at this point, honestly. At some point, the Sixers have to get their asses kicked, right? Tonight is a tough back-to-back. I didn't even know they played tonight. I got so much shit on my mind. I didn't even know they played tonight. It is Cleveland tonight. That's tough. Cleveland's a good basketball team. Only 4-3 on the year, but they're a really good team. Donovan Mitchell is a tough assignment. And you won't see Joel Embiid go tonight. We know that. So we'll see. We'll see what they look like tonight. I voted for a bunch of people that I know nothing about, so I voted for my gang affiliations. Oh, my goodness gracious. I wanted a safety and a guard. Keith, I definitely wanted a guard. I understand the people that wanted a safety. I won't say that it was number one on my priority list, but I did want a safety. Guard was tops. Tight end, too, was probably ahead of it for me. And then maybe safety. That's about how I would have prioritized it. Good morning. How we doing? Can't even read that. Blast Entertainment News. Hope you hit that like button and subscribe button. Vote for Kneppler. Make Phil great again. Stop with that. There are many that think Joe should have been on the bench the Final Four, even in his prime. Yeah, I mean, I think you've got an argument there. But in his prime, I think he was a more confident shooter. I don't know if you noticed this. Maybe this is just bad eye test last night. I was stressed out last night for some other things, so maybe I was distracted. But it looked like late in that game that he didn't want the ball in his hands. Prime Joel wanted the ball in his hands. Prime Joel thought he was going to make the big shot. Every time in the last couple minutes that he took a shot, it didn't look like he wanted to take it. And multiple times he forced the ball back to Maxey when Prime Joel would have just dominated. So I think there's still some mental side of things with Joel Embiid that he's still trying to overcome at this point. If that makes sense. Very hesitant. He wasn't hesitant early in the game, in my opinion. He took confident shots. He moved with the ball well. He moved confidently on defense. But in those last 4 minutes, and I don't know if it was sitting and then coming back out and getting loosed again, or if he's just not confident in himself in general for the key moments. Wanted O-line help, but I'm okay with giving Stoutland University a chance to fix things. If I had to bet, he will fix things. Yeah, I mean, I get that. A little bit more depth wouldn't have hurt at guard. No knock on Matt. No knock on Brett Toth, but I would much rather Landon Dickerson at center if you had a guard to fill in over there. Lots of people can't stand the ISO ball or two-man game down the stretch. It slows things down a lot. Yeah, the Sixers are still absolutely fun to watch because, Mitch, I have no expectations. I'm not frustrated or pissed off when they win or lose. I'm just enjoying basketball again. Blaming Embiid is the thing. I don't think anybody's blaming Embiid. The problem was there was only an Embiid, Maxey, two-man game down the stretch. They need a true point. I don't think anybody's blaming Embiid. if you're going to blame somebody, you blame Nick Nurse for putting Embiid in that situation that he's not ready for, or maybe never will be ready for again. That's all. And I just said it that, he was forcing the ball to Maxey because he didn't want it in that two-man game in that situation. And you draw up a play for Quinny Grimes, not Maxey, in the final seconds of the game. So if anything, I'll blame Nick Nurse for last night's loss for his coaching down the stretch. But it's just one loss early in the season. I don't care. Because I'm just enjoying the ride. Cowboys think they're going to the bowl. Psych birds are, look. Cowboys fans are Cowboys fans. They're insane. If Joel stays, the Sixers will have a good season. If Joel just stays doing a solid job, they will. Just a subliminal messaging? Is that what it is? That's how you got to feel, Mitchie Poo. All you got to do is enjoy the ride. No expectations. Just enjoy what you're saying. Because this year, really, in my opinion, is about developing Tyrese Maxey as the man. It's about developing VJ Edgecombe and Jarrett McCain into great players. This year is about development of the young guard team that they run. We saw some combination of those three and Quinny Grimes multiple times on the court last night. And I love it. It's fun. It's entertaining. Just enjoy it. Dude, Maxey seemed burned out last night. Big time. I mean, the guy's been playing a shit ton of minutes, Keith. I don't know if did he play 40 last night? I already went to I already took the box score off. Hold on. Only 39 minutes last night. That was probably the least amount of minutes he played all year. Maxey is literally being burned out early. Now, once Jarrett McCain gets his legs under him and gets back into game shape, I think those minutes will come down for Maxey. But, man, that boy, he's getting tired. You could see it on his shot last night. Meant healthy. Okay, I got you. I understand. Paul George on Giddey would have been a help defensively. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm excited to see if Paul George can accept a new role on this team. Paul George is not going to be the man. Paul George is not going to be the guy, the focal point. I don't think he wants to be the focal point. The big thing is Paul George needs to accept his role as a 3-and-D specialist. All right, we got the Chet in the chat with his Press Box Radio plug of the day. Tonight, 7 p.m., right here on the STT Sports Network. Philly Press Box Radio welcomes Ring the Bell co-author Kevin Reevey back to the show to talk Phillies and Eagles. And I got the first author of the day on the channel, okay? But I got Paul Knepper on talking Moses Malone in about 10 minutes here. So stick around for that interview, Chet. It's like putting a chandelier in a haunted house. Exactly. Chet, and just in time for Kneppler. Yeah, exactly. Just in time, right? Chet in the chat is more over than Cody Rhodes' theme song when that plays in an arena. Cody Rhodes or Knepper in the chat is more over than CM Punk in Chicago. It just is. Chet in the chat is more over than Jerry Jones in his own head. It is what it is. But anyway, last night with the Sixers, I don't get upset about that loss. The Bulls are strong. I'll say this. The Bulls were very impressive last night. The Bulls played a very impressive brand of basketball last night. It's the first time I've really, truly watched the Bulls since they got rid of Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. They're well coached, well organized. Vucevic is still a solid center. Giddey, I mean, he took us to school last night. Chet in the chat needs his own entrance music. Yeah, what would Chet's walk-up music be? I mean, Chet's a rock and roll guy. He loves his rock and roll. If Chet had walk-up music, it would definitely be some kind of rock and roll. McCain had some nice passes last night, but we were probably 2 to 3 weeks away from McCain run wild. Yeah, he just looked like he didn't know where he needed to be in different situations. Once you get Mark C on, the likes and the subscribers will go way up that day. Is that right? We haven't gained any subscribers yet today. I'll hit that like button. That's right. What are we at? Like 18, 19 likes right now? Josh Giddey is a beast. I thought his career was over after that incident. Yeah, I mean, look. Innocent till proven guilty, I guess, right? Chet would be old school AC/DC. I can see that. Oh, yeah, there it is. Highway to Hell. Chet would pick Highway to Hell. Hanging out with Chet is like being on the Highway to Hell, probably, right? You have to give Billy Donovan credit. Last year he has his look. They look good. Look at that. We're all agreeing. AC/DC for Chet right there. The days of the traditional center are no longer in the NBA. Embiid will never play with his back to the basket. He'll need to be out there, just not in the final minutes. I think that's absolutely what needs to happen. And we'll talk about this with the guest that's joining us shortly about the traditional NBA center versus the today and how what to do with Joel Embiid. We'll definitely get this with the guest on in a little bit here, Dante. So make sure you bring this up again in the coming minutes. Do I know my Chet or do I know my Chet? Chet's always doing fun stuff. Chet, if you follow Chet on social media, dude's always posting pictures with rock stars and celebrities, beer gardens all the time, concerts. Chet's the man about town. Everybody knows Chet, and everybody wants to know Chet. Chet's the coolest. Which is a shame because he's not even the best person on his own show. Bill Furman is. Anyway. Sixers tonight. Tough back-to-back. And he's going to Green Bay Lambeau Field. Oh, wow, Chet. Look at you. That's actually pretty awesome. I've never been to any other football stadium other than Philadelphia, the Vet and the Link. I've been to multiple baseball stadiums across the country, but I've never been to any outside football game. That's fun. That's an interesting one right there. I don't know if I had to pick the football stadium I'd want to see an Eagles game in. Would Lambeau be number one? I don't know. I'm not sure it'd be my most want to see stadium for a football game. Penn State for a whiteout would be up there. Lambeau Field, probably. Yeah. Chet's the straw that stirs the drink. That's right. Kobe White didn't even play last night. Honestly, I forgot about him. They're always fighting words. You can see why Giddey was traded by OKC, though. I couldn't imagine he and SGA sharing the ball. Yeah, I can. I was thinking about that last night. They just had too many people in OKC. They had to move off one of those guys. It's kind of like when they had Westbrook, Durant, and Harden, and they got rid of Harden. Never been to the Link. Wow. I've only been a couple times. I'm not a big football in-person guy because I don't like the cold. I've been to more preseason games than regular season games because I just don't like being cold. Last Eagles game I went to was 2019. No, I went to 2021 with the Chargers game when we lost to the Chargers. But in 2019, I went to the Sunday or Monday night football game against the Giants where it was like icy rain in December. And Carson Wentz had to lead us back. I was so miserable at that game, being so cold and wet. I met Chet this summer. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. I love him. Hung out with Chet one night. Don't let him fool you. I have very little recollection of what happened, but I awoke to Chet playing Russian roulette with Oh, man, I'm going to have to get Chet on to confirm that. I've only been to Chet Life Stadium. Oh, my God. Meadowlands, Ravens, FedEx. Gotcha. And the Lincoln Vet. Yeah, like, so baseball, I've been to Camden. I've been to Fenway. I've been to a bunch of baseball stadiums. Never been to any football stadium outside of Philly. I would want to freeze my nuts off while being surrounded by a bunch of idiots with cheese hats on. I love going to away games. I do. I like to be that guy decked out head to toe. Even though I hate the Cowboys, their stadium looks nice. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we're getting close. Getting close to the time. Getting close to the time for our special guest. That's why get your comments in now. Like, subscribe, share. I'm excited to hear this. I don't know where this conversation is going to go. But anyway, there it is. So, guys, comments on hold for now. We'll get to some of the questions when we do it. Let's reset. Guys, you're watching Trending in the AM on the STT Sports Network. Like, subscribe, share, and joining me now on the I Have No Sponsor hotline, Paul Knepper. Good morning, Paul. How you doing?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for taking some time out to talk. I know you got a brand new book out here that you're here to promote. But real quick, Paul, you used to cover the NBA, the Knicks. You're down there in Texas. You're from New York. You're all over the place. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself for those that don't know.
Yeah, well, as you noted, I grew up in New York, lived there most of my life, moved out to Austin, Texas about 13 years ago now. And A number of years ago now, I covered the Knicks for Bleacher Report. I wrote my first book, which came out, I think, 4 years ago, called The Knicks of the 90s,
Mhm.
about kind of the team of my youth, the Knicks of my youth. And my new book just came out the other day. It's called Moses Malone, The Life of a Basketball Prophet.
Yeah. And guys, just so you know, his book, his website is linked in the description of this video. If you want to purchase his book or even look at the description of his book, that is down there in the description. Make sure you check it out. So you're a University of Michigan graduate, I gather too. We've got quite a few Michigan graduates and Michigan fans that are always in the chat. So you're going to be, even though this is a Philly sports channel, you're going to be well received because you wrote a book about the Sixers, but
Right.
you're also a Michigan graduate, so people are going to love you in this chat.
Sweet. Yeah, go blue.
Go blue. We got multiple. So let's talk about this book. You're a New York guy. You covered the Knicks. What drew you to writing a book about Moses Malone? While he played for multiple teams, obviously he's known for his time in Philadelphia, extremely well and everything like that. Why Moses Malone for this book?
Yeah, the biggest thing is he's not known well enough. I mean,
Yeah.
when people talk about the greats of the game, his name just doesn't come up often enough, and especially younger generations, they have no idea. It's the kind of thing where if you know, you know. If you're over a certain age and you saw Moses play, you know how incredible he was. But younger generations just don't, because he's not talked about enough.
Mhm.
And he had such an incredible career. I mean, he was the first modern day guy to go straight from high school to pros, which was very difficult at the time for a number of reasons. And then, I mean, the stats, the accolades are incredible. He's one of only 9 guys to win 3 or more NBA MVP awards.
Mhm.
As you all know, in Philly, he was the best player on one of the greatest teams of all time. He's by far the greatest offensive rebounder of all time. And yet nobody talks about him. So I kind of wanted to bring his story to light for younger generations and those people who watched him and loved him.
I want to get to comparing him to the current state of the NBA in a little bit. But I was reading some of the synopsis on your book, and you talk about his personality a lot, in this book of who he is and, what he was all about as a person. Who was Moses Malone the person? Is that maybe why Moses Malone the person, why people don't know about Moses Malone the player as well?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Absolutely. I mean, Moses was. Here's the thing about Moses: he had no interest in being famous,
Mm-hmm.
none. And we've seen there are other guys like that. I mean, Jokic is like that now. I think Tim Duncan was like that. Kawhi Leonard's like that. There have been other great players like that, but he had no interest in being famous, and he didn't play the whole game with the media. He was very gruff with the media. Back when Moses played, there was no internet, there was no social media. Even cable television hadn't even exploded yet for a lot of his career. So the mythology around our athletes was created by sports writers.
Mm-hmm.
The sports writers never got to know him, and a lot of them flat out disliked him because he was very standoffish. So nobody really got to see the real side of Moses. And some of the things I learned is, one, he was a very intelligent man, which was contrary to the way he was projected. He had a great sense of humor. He was a guy who always did like little, pranks in the locker room, just stuff like, hiding your shoes and then starting to giggle while you were walking around the locker room looking for them, that kind of stuff. I think one of the things I really admired about Moses and his teammates admired about him was that he was incredibly humble. Here's a guy who won 3 MVP awards. He was a superstar. He was an all-time great. And as one of his high school friends said to me, when Moses became big, everybody around him began to look at him differently. But he never changed the way he viewed himself. And I thought that was really cool about him. And so, teammates really respected him because, Moses treated that 12th man at the end of the bench the same way he treated Dr. J. He treated the janitor in the arena the same way he treated Dr. J. And so he was a loved and respected teammate, a friend, and had a great sense of humor. And it's a shame that nobody really got to see that. But as you noted, a lot of that is his fault.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see that in the athlete today. Like I was just when I was doing research on Moses for this interview and your book, but also his career, I wrote down like 3 words: his character, his lack of ego, and his work ethic. Well, not 3 words, that's 5 words, but 3 phrases there. You don't see that in the athletes today. I mean, there's a few select ones, but I think it was a lot more common back then without the internet and everything else, where these guys, they put their heart and soul into their teams and their profession versus their egos.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of it, money corrupts everything, right? I mean, let's be honest. And Moses was the first guy to make $2 million a year, which was a big deal at the time when he signed with the Sixers. But even then, but you had all-stars who were making less than $1 million a year. So I mean, that's inconceivable now, right? I mean, you guys are making $50-60 million a year, so it's a whole other stratosphere. And they're just and beyond that, and not just the player salaries, but this like the sneaker money too, and the endorsement deals in general. So I think it's probably harder to remain humble now. But yeah, there was a collective, back then there was a collective idea of the league was on shaky ground financially, and there was a collective feeling even among the stars that we need to promote the league. Dr. J was very much like that. Magic was very much like that. They talked about it openly. We need to promote the league. We need to build up the league. We need to we're all kind of in this together. And nobody talked about brand. Mm-hmm. That when you were young, we never heard that word, my brand. Nobody talked about their brand. Your brand was the team, right? That was what can I do for the team, not what can I do for my brand. And so, yes, I mean, I think Moses was probably on the extreme end of that, even when he played. But as you noted, that there's been such a shift in that in general in the past 30 years.
Yeah, this comment here from Noom saying Barkley had zero clue what hard work looked like until he met Moses Malone. Like, just talk about, Moses Malone also, he hung around. He played a lot longer in the NBA than I realized till I was doing my research. He hung around and did try to help groom the next generation and help groom the younger players as well, right?
Yeah, he was a mentor to countless people. I mean, the most notable are Barkley and Akeem Olajuwon. He had a huge impact on their career. And, Charles loves to talk, so he said it many times that Moses Malone is the single person who had most responsible for his success in the NBA. Mm-hmm. That's a big statement. Obviously, Charles Barkley's an all-time great. But he did. And I think the fact that Moses stuck around so long and so far past his prime, not many superstars do that, stick around and become guys playing 10 minutes a game. But I think it showed how much he loved the game. And I think he was just one of those guys that he just loved being in the locker room. He loved being around the guys. And I think that's why he stuck around so long.
And when I was reading up on the book, it said you interviewed a lot of people to get all different stories on Moses Malone, as much information. Two parts here. Who were some of the most important people you interviewed for this book, but also maybe something you learned through this process that even you didn't know about Moses Malone when you're talking to some of these people that knew him?
Yeah, I mean, some of the most important people are some of his best friends from childhood, because that stuff was, hard to come by. There's not as much written about that as, say, his NBA years. Another guy I'll say is Olajuwon, because Olajuwon, because he did have a profound effect on Olajuwon's career. And of course, we know how great Olajuwon was. So to hear him talk about Moses and what the things that Moses did for him in detail was really fascinating and a great insight into Moses' character. As far as something I didn't know about him, it goes to the personality stuff, because that was just, nobody knew that. No fans knew that. So I would say his sense of humor and his intelligence. Dr. J said he had a brilliant basketball mind. And so many guys told me how he processed information at an elite level. And he was that kind of guy who you'd be on the court during a game and he knew every player on his team, what their responsibility was at every moment, and sometimes would call them out to it. And in a sense, it shouldn't be surprising. You don't win 3 MVP awards without having a very high basketball IQ. I don't care how talented you are. But I think that intelligence extended off the court as well.
It's just such a funny joke here, but Moses split the sea to lead us to the promised land, obviously talking about the Sixers title in 1983. I mean, just think about the impact that Moses Malone had on our city. I mean, no matter whether you're talking about the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers, the Eagles, obviously we're known as a football city, but when our other teams are even remotely good, this city, they shower the support on our sports teams. And this team had been close with Dr. J and Maurice Cheeks and some other players there for a while. Moses Malone was so talented. When you talk about the all-time greats, people talk about Dr. J, not Moses Malone. But it was Moses Malone that put this organization over the top to win that championship.
Absolutely. I mean, as you noted, they had a great team before. They went to the finals in 1982, and then a few months later, they added Moses. And Moses, you went to the finals, and then you add the reigning MVP of the league. He certainly put them over the top. But I think that goes back to what we were talking about, too, is, people talking about him. I think another reason people don't talk about him as much is because he moved around so much.
He did.
So, like, he's loved in Philly. He's loved in Philly. He's most identified with Philly, but he was only there 4 years.
Yep.
So I don't think he's loved the way that you're the Philly guy, you can tell me, but I don't think he's loved the way that Dr. J is or Allen Iverson are, because those guys spent a decade in Philly. Mm-hmm. And there's only so much, in 4 years, there's only so much love you could build up. I think everyone there respects him and appreciates him, but not to that same level because he just wasn't there long enough.
I think it really, it's different players, different personalities, different sports, but he's loved because he helped bring us the title. Kind of similar to Pete Rose when he came to the Phillies. He was like that last missing piece to put us, over the top. Same era too. I mean, totally different personalities and people and whatnot. But yeah.
But you know what? A number of people compared him to Pete Rose to me. Pat Williams did. Pat Williams told me he was the Pete Rose of basketball. And that comparison actually kept coming up because they were both widely regarded as the hardest working guys in their individual sports. But yes, many differences as well.
Yeah, many differences as well. But that's crazy. I just came out, anyway. You talk about Moses Malone and how dominant he was and how special he was, but you also look at today's game and the position has evolved so much, the center position. And earlier in today's show, we've been spending a lot of time talking about last night's Sixers game and Joel Embiid. But just talk about the evolution of that position, because you also wrote a book on the Knicks of the 90s, obviously led by, the great Patrick Ewing, who also never got over the top of that team. They never won a championship, but Patrick Ewing was much more like the traditional center that, we all grew up with versus the modern day center. Talk about the evolution of the position. Do you miss the old style of how centers used to play?
I do. I wish there were room for both of the styles. I think inevitably all of us we kind of fall in love with the way the game was played when we were young. That's I think a lot of us long for that, and it's always going to change. Yep. We're always going to look back. There's pluses and minuses to the changes. One nice thing is today's centers showcase a lot more skills. Moses was a great post player. He couldn't shoot like a Jokic or a Karl Anthony Towns. He couldn't put the ball on the floor like a lot of the big men do now. He wasn't a very good passer. So in a way, it's nice. But yes, I do miss that. I do miss seeing the old school back to the basket centers and the different moves they had. I talk about Olajuwon. He was, to watch him in the post was like watching, I don't know, Baryshnikov do ballet or something. It was like he was a genius down there. So I do miss the post play, but again, there's some good and bad to the changes.
Do you think this day and age could support a center like there are traditional centers in the NBA, but not dominant traditional centers in the NBA? Do you think this NBA era could support a player like Moses Malone's skill set in the success aspect of it?
Yeah, I don't know that he could be as successful just because the players around him aren't accustomed to playing that way. And that would make it difficult. But it seems like you should be able to, or like a Shaq. You have to think Shaq would still be able to dominate now. The great thing about it, the old centers, and you talk about Patrick, and I grew up watching Patrick. The thing about Patrick was he'd go on the block, and teams constantly had to double team him, and he'd kick it out to the open shooters. Mm-hmm. Well, now there's even more spacing for that to happen, and more shooters on the floor. And so it certainly seems like it should still be able to work. It's a little difficult. The league is so pick and roll heavy now, and it's hard to run a pick and roll when you got a big man planted in the middle. You refer to the traditional centers. A lot of the traditional centers now they're kind of rim running big men. They set the pick and then they run to the basket. It's not as much throw it inside and let them operate.
Moses Malone would average 20 rebounds a game right now. He could dominate the rebound. He dominated back then. I didn't even know he had the record for most offensive rebounds per game until I double checked it. Like, I knew he was one of the best. But you lack that effort on the boards. nowadays in the traditional center, the traditional, the just basketball in general. I'm watching last night's Sixers game and just the moments they give up extra offensive rebounds or when they're not hustling for them, you just don't see that today, that extra hustle and effort anymore like you did back in the day.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's the same level of effort, of hustle, of guys that play hurt like they did back in the day. We all know about load management. The other thing too, though, I think the nature of the offensive rebound has changed in that 3-point shots tend to have longer rebounds, and so it's not you don't have as much of a back in the day it was let's try and get the ball as close to the basket as possible and shoot it from there, and you'd have kind of a scrum of guys in the paint. You don't have that anymore. So just the nature, you're not fighting through a scrum for the offensive rebounds. And a lot of them are longer rebounds because of the longer shots. So it's a somewhat different approach to it.
So, let's bring this for the Sixers fans, since we are a Philly thing. Obviously, Joel Embiid is obviously one of the most, I don't want to use the word controversial. He's a very interesting character. Obviously, one of the most talented centers of this current generation, but obviously hampered by injuries, load management, his complete different personality to Moses Malone, obviously. He's way over the top with the trolling and everything else. But he's at a point in his career where he's not the dominant MVP force he was. And we were watching last night's game against the Bulls, and he started to show a little bit of getting into the game flow. But then you just see he's just not there. And how can Joel Embiid maximize what he has left in the tank? How can you get a veteran of him? He's 30, 31 years old to change what he's done for so long into a different style, because he needs to be a traditional center now versus who he used to be.
Yeah, I hate to say this because I'm going to get nasty comments in the tweets, but Joel Embiid's done.
Yeah,
he's done. I mean, that knee is just not going to hold up for extensive periods of time, and I mean, I hear you. Like, yes, in the limited time he has, he should, I guess, be more conservative with his movements, and it'd be great if he could operate in the post. And he could do that. He has the skills to do that. It's a matter of will and game planning. But I'm just skeptical the guy can stay on the court.
I mean, you wrote a book about the Knicks as well. So Moses Malone's got the MVPs, he's got the titles and stuff like that. You wrote a book about the Knicks, which obviously includes Patrick Ewing, who also, like Joel Embiid, never won a title. But Patrick Ewing is now looked back upon in a pretty positive light, right? One of the best centers of all time, etc. We don't talk about he never got over the hump anymore. How do you think Joel Embiid 10 years from now, 15 years from now, from when the next authors are coming up writing books, when they write a book about Joel Embiid and the quote-unquote process, how will Joel Embiid's legacy be remembered, do you think?
I think he'll be remembered a lot more fondly than he's viewed right now. Patrick certainly is. There was a lot of frustration with Patrick at the time that he couldn't get them over the top. That a lot of focus on his flaws and not enough focus on his greatness. And I think years from now people look back at Embiid and say wow, he was just a incredible physical talent, incredible ability. And I think it'll be, instead of animosity, I think it'll be more of a what if. What if Joel could have stayed healthy? What if they had the right pieces around him at the right time? What if Kawhi Leonard's shot didn't drop that year? What if they re-signed Jimmy Butler? I think there'll be a lot of what ifs, and I think in time his image will actually improve.
We always say what ifs. I do at least once or twice a year. I do a what if show on here. And I know you've been working with Uriah over NBA now and then, and I think he's got some what ifs coming up this season on his show. So here's a what if for you. What if Moses Malone was playing today? How would he succeed? But also, what if Joel Embiid was playing in the Moses Malone era? How would their careers, could Joel Embiid survive back then? In that tougher style? No load management back then.
Yeah. I mean, Joel, it's the same question. Would he have held up? I mean, his body hasn't held up in this era, so I don't know if it would have held up. I don't know that the physicality would have necessarily made it any worse, but it would have been difficult for him to hold up just based on what we've seen now. As for Moses, it depends. If you took 1982, 1983 prime Moses and brought him to this era, transported him, I think he would have some struggles. I think he would do great on the boards, but I think he wouldn't have the skill set to thrive as a big man in this league because they wouldn't just dump the ball down into him. Now, if Moses came up now, I think he would be great in this league because he was very talented, he was very athletic, and he was very hardworking. And so if he came up now, I think he'd develop a three-point shot. I think he'd develop better ball handling skills because those are the skills you need to be great, and those are the skills you need to get paid. And he would have made sure that he was good at that and would have been able to.
You know, you're saying that Joel Embiid's done. I'm getting a comment here on that. Joel's still scoring. The last two games he played 20 more minutes, he still scored over 20 points. You know, kind of countering that he's not done. He's still got something left in the tank. You know, I was going to say, you can still manage Embiid, I guess is my answer to that comment, to being a useful player, right? You just got to manage it, right?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Joel Embiid scored 50 points tomorrow night. I don't know when they play next, but yeah, he's incredible talent, and when healthy and when right, can still do incredible things. I don't think even in a limited role, I don't think his body can hold up. I don't think he could play. I don't think he could. When I say he's done, I don't mean that he can't play on an NBA floor anymore. I mean he's done as a superstar. I think he's done as a guy that you can rely on. If the Sixers make the playoffs, it's looking great right now. You can't expect even a limited role Joel to make it through 2, 3, 4 playoff series. Like I just don't think that's feasible anymore. Unfortunately, I mean, and by the way, I would love to be wrong about this. Love to. You don't want a guy to be hurt. I like watching Joel play, but I hope I'm wrong. That's my.
Yeah, I mean, look. I mean, you're not a Philly guy, but Joel Embiid does make, when he's playing at his best, he's an entertaining athlete. I mean, he definitely, people gravitate where you talk about, Moses Malone being a quiet, shy, introverted person. Joel Embiid's the complete total opposite of that. So people too gravitate towards him in a good and bad way. So, as you're trying to grow the sport, it's also good for the sport when Joel Embiid is playing at his peak level.
Absolutely. Everyone, and I don't, like when Jason Tatum tore his ACL last year, like I agree. Man, it's hard. You don't want anybody to get hurt, period. Absolutely. But especially the star players. It's just not good for the league, and they're fun to watch. Even forget personality aside. I mean, Joel Embiid's skill set is just remarkable. I mean, he's one of those guys that a little like Olajuwon was as a big man that you would just watch sometimes, and he was breathtaking. And so I miss that. I'd love for him to get back to that. But
you mentioned Olajuwon's name multiple times, and early in Embiid's career, there were always a lot of comparisons to Olajuwon on the offensive dominance side of the game.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, there are some similarities. I don't think he's quite as fluid, quite as agile as Olajuwon, if just because he's bigger. I mean, Olajuwon is really like 6'10", and Joel's over 6 feet, and he's probably got 30, 40 pounds on Olajuwon in his prime. So I don't think he moves quite the same way, but yeah, talent-wise, I think it's a fair comparison.
So real quick, guys, we're talking to Paul Knepper here, author of a great new book, Moses Malone, The Life of a Basketball Prophet. It is linked down in the description of this video. Make sure you guys check it out. Obviously, the NBA is in a very interesting spot right now. Obviously, it's evolving with load management and everything that's going on, but there's also fears of work stoppages and stuff like that in the coming years. What's your take generally of the current state of the NBA as a guy that's been covering it for a very long time?
Yeah, it's like I said, I view pluses and minuses to the way the game has changed. There are some things that happen that just kind of make me cringe. Some of the guys taking 6 steps before they shoot the ball. And
are you talking about Giannis?
Yes.
That video from the other day was one of the
crazy, right? I was watching that live. I was like, damn, because it was
I bookmarked on Twitter that video just so I can go watch it every so often, just for a good laugh. So
yeah, so it's and I think we've gone a little too far with the 3-point shot. But I don't know. It's hard. It's the money. Like I keep coming back to the money. It's hard. It's so high that these guys if you can make $60 million and not play hard or sit out every few games or then. I don't know. It's a tough, even like the All-Star game, like it's bad for the product when guys are not playing or not gutting it out, or even just in an All-Star game when you see guys not playing their hardest. I think that's really bad for the product. So I'm concerned about that, but I don't really know what the answer to that is.
Did the Sixers ruin basketball? Because honestly, the process The load management really started with the process, and the process has been copied by many of teams since it. They just never monetized it and coined a phrase around it like the Sixers did. Did the Sixers process kind of ruin and cause a big shift in the NBA?
Maybe.
Be honest. You can say.
I don't know.
For saying it.
I mean, you can't blame them for doing it. They chose a strategy within the rules, and they implemented the best they could. I don't think it was a bad strategy, really. Tanking's an ongoing problem. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would love to see relegation like they have in soccer. Like if you finish at the bottom of the standings, you drop out of the top league. Now we don't have enough leagues, and we don't have enough teams to do that, but. I just in general, I hate the idea of rewarding losing. I'm right that right now. I'm a Jets fan, which is brutal, by the way. But it's a terrible position to be in as a fan to be like, oh man, I hope they lose the rest of their games. Like that's not fun for a fan. That's not good for attendance. That's not good for anything. So. It's not just a basketball problem, clearly, but I wish there was a way somehow to. And I think the play-in tournament's been helpful for that, actually, somewhat. But I don't know. The process is. It's hard to blame. I don't blame them, but yeah, that might have been the start of it.
It seems like the Jets might be starting a process. We did talk about the Jets early in this show. I love collecting all this. I love that they're collecting all those draft picks. I feel bad for Aaron Glenn, taking over that job and being stripped away. But then I worry. I'm like, well, they got 5 first-round picks the next 2 years. The Jets are going to screw them up somehow, right?
Of course, absolutely. You have nothing to worry about. Yes,
absolutely. Well, guys, so obviously you've got the Moses Malone book that's out. It just came out on November 1st. You had your Knicks book before that. What's next for Paul? Do you have ideas for other books that you're going to be, writing? Do you have other, areas you want to do research on right now?
That's a good question. I'm trying to come up with the next book. I'm trying to come up with a good idea.
I got one.
Let me have it. Talk to me, Phil.
I want a book written about the process, but a very specific aspect of it. Because in Philly, there's a lot of people that believe that the league forced the Sixers to fire Sam Hinkie before he could see the process that he laid out through. What would the process have looked like if Sam Hinkie was never fired? Would he have, the moves that Colangelo made after he was, stripped of that job, Sam Hinkie, kind of ruined the process.
They short-circuited it. Yeah,
I always wanted, even if it's just a short circuit, I want to know what the process would have been like if Sam Hinkie stuck around. Sam Hinkie's a hard interview to get. Sam Hinkie has hidden himself from the NBA. He's only made 1 or 2 appearances and comments since leaving the Sixers. I would love to know what the Sam Hinkie process would have resulted in.
That's very interesting.
He wasn't.
Do you think the league forced him out?
I really do believe I think they forced him out because they didn't like the fact that the Sixers were monetizing tanking. They were printing shirts with the process and tanking on it. Once the Sixers coined a phrase and started promoting, hey, we're going to do tickets for $2 because we know we're going to lose tonight, but don't worry, in 5 years we have a plan. I think that is when the league got upset.
That's interesting. That makes sense because it was very, when you talk about them starting it, before them it was always hush hush. You always deny it. You provide some euphemism for what was actually going on, and we're trying to get the young guys some time and blah 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 whatever. But you're right. There was a shift with that. That's interesting. I don't know. I know your own Weitzman wrote a book about the process Sixers. I don't recall him getting. I don't think he got into what would have happened had they not got rid of Hinkie.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, anything else you want to promote? Anything else you want to talk about here before I let you go here? Obviously, I got your website linked for everybody. Make sure you guys check out the book if you're interested in a Moses Malone story. I know I'm looking at getting it placed in here soon. Anything else you got going on?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate the time. I appreciate you having me on to promote the book, and I hope Joel stays healthy. I'll end it with that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it, and thank you very much, Paul, for coming on today. And best of luck with the book. I know you're doing a lot of appearances promoting it. Keep up the good work, man. I'll look forward to seeing what the next book is.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
That was Paul Knepper there on the I Have No Sponsor Hotline. Guys, if you haven't yet, like, subscribe, share, check out the book, like I said, in the link of the description of this video. Fantastic interview. Great insight. Great talk on Moses Malone, but the NBA in general. I thought that was a very interesting interview. I know I missed a lot of comments there, guys. But, if you got anything that I missed, drop it now, and I will go over it. Right now, our poll question of the day is at 34 votes. Who had the best NFL trade deadline? Eagles, 79%. Cowboys, 6%. Jets, 15%. Other, 0. That's where we're at. We're at 23 likes on this video today. But that was a fantastic interview. Lots of great insight from Paul there. Really enjoyed that. Very well-spoken guy. I got to get the book myself. It was just too last second, this interview, to get the book in time to read it. But, yeah, they put a cap in his career and buried it in the desert. Yeah. Now, I've always been curious about, I want someone to get a hold of Sam Hinkie and do a full-on interview with him. Because Sam Hinkie was just ostracized from the NBA so quickly. And he was kicked out of here so quickly. And I always want to know what his plan was. Always wanted to know what was next. What would have become of all the assets he was acquiring? What was the end goal? What would he have done that Colangelo did differently? What would he have done that Brand did differently, that Hinkie or Morey did differently? If he was given the free rein to fail and then succeed and learn from his mistakes, what would he have done? Howie Roseman was banished and then was brought back. What if Hinkie was just stripped of some duties and then came back? What would have been the difference? I'm really always curious about that. So, interesting conversation there with Paul. I really appreciate you guys hanging in there for that interview because I was really intrigued with that and the book and the story. So, yeah. Final thoughts, anything? We'll be back tomorrow. Eagles will be back at it today. No practice today, but we will hear from the coaches today as we normally do on Tuesday. But with the Monday Night Football game, everything was pushed back a day. I'm sure there will be more Eagles roster moves today. Cuts need to be made to fill out this roster. It was a great show. Great conversation early, and then a great interview there. He would have done what Sam Presti did, which, the Oklahoma City Thunder are pretty damn good right now, right? Right? So I guess in theory, that's what it could have been. The NBA would have never let him hang around and get his job back. NBA is just another arm of the mob. It's possible. It's possible. I just hate and thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate that. I just think that he got blackballed and kicked out of the NBA. And he was with Morey with the Rockets, right? So it's not like this was his first job. And, it's a shame. It's a shame it went the way it did for Sam Hinkie. Thank you very much, Dante. It was a blast today. I love interacting with you guys. I was just talking with AK the other day. This show is built around our interactions. But you know what I really love to do? I love to interview people. I love to ask questions and listen to their answers. I really, truly do. I really do. I got to get more free time and start like an interview series here. The issue is Hinkie messed up the business process of basketball, agents, etc. It's very possible. Very possible. Would Sam have hired Doc Rivers? He definitely wouldn't have kept him as long as he did. That's for sure. I don't know if Brett Brown would have stuck around. But yeah, maybe. Maybe he wouldn't have let Jimmy Butler walk. Maybe. Maybe he wouldn't have traded a first for Markelle Fultz. Maybe. Problems that Hinkie said the quiet stuff out loud. Exactly. He didn't mind airing the dirty laundry of the league. Exactly. That's all it was. I still truly believe he was fired solely for monetizing and bragging about tanking. The process. If the phrase "the process" was never put on a T-shirt, I don't think he would have gotten fired the way he did. Maybe he would have gotten fired for failing at his job, but he would never have been fired the way he did. It's a shame. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think Ben Simmons was always destined to be a Sixer. Maybe Ben Simmons would have been a better Sixer, Adam. Maybe Ben Simmons would have been a better player if Hinkie would have hung around. Maybe. I don't know. Or he would have been able to flip Ben Simmons for 17 first-round draft picks 2 years into his career. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. Anyway, we're going to wrap this baby up, guys. Everybody have a fantastic day. Make sure you stay tuned, like, subscribe, share. Philly Press Box Radio later tonight. Be back with the Eagles check down later tonight. Everybody have a fantastic Wednesday, guys. Great day. Tomorrow, back on the Eagles. More Sixers talk. We'll see what else pops up tomorrow. Everyone have a great Wednesday. Go Birds. And bubbles up.